the voice of vaping. In each show, we share the latest about regulations and things you need to know, plus upcoming conferences and fests, along with interviews with the movers and shakers in this fabulous vape space. Are you looking to get into this ever-expanding marketplace? Do you want to master this industry? Listen up as Norm Bauer, the Vape Mentor, shares it all. And here's your host, Norm Bauer.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. This is show number 7, episode number 3. So by the time this is all said and done, we will now have 21 episodes on Stitcher and also on iTunes. As I mentioned in Section 1, we're now on iTunes. So if you are an Apple freak, if you're a Mac freak, by all means go to iTunes and just type in Vape News Radio, and there will pop up. And, you know, we would love for you to listen to the show and be entertained and be informed and educated. But as importantly, we would really, really, really appreciate you subscribing. And more importantly, please review us. And, you know, I'm not going to bribe you with a T-shirt or anything else like that to give us a 4-star rating, but if you think that what we're doing is good for the industry, we would love to have your very positive rating. And again, for those of you who are watching this as in video, not just audio, each episode is now on our YouTube channel. So for those of you who are watching this, how you doing? Hey.
Can they see the Vape Girls that are hanging out in the vape T-shirts here?
Hey, girls, can you come in here? Wait a second, you got to put your tops back on?
Wait a second, they're changing into their T-shirts.
I'm sorry, guys. The girls are going to be back in about 20 minutes or so. They just took a little break, and they had to go find some smaller tops to put on. So
yeah, that's right.
I know I just alienated our female audience, but that's the risk that I take.
Well, the female audience is tuning in to watch you.
We're still, yeah, right. You know, it's still a male-centric business, but the truth is that there's a lot of women that are getting into this space. As I mentioned last episode, my next special report is going to be about female baby boomers, as in post-50-year-old women getting in this industry, because we're actually seeing a trend doing that.
I'm shocked how many guests you brought in here who are clients of yours who are women.
Yeah.
You brought a substantial number when they're sitting into the show and listening to it, and I'm like, this isn't the industry that I pictured.
Nor did I. And to be honest with you, when I first got in this business as a baby boomer, I was a little bit surprised that it was so heavily dominant, or maybe I wasn't surprised, but it absolutely is so heavily dominant with the millennial or the Gen Y generation. All right, so I kind of teased you all at the end of Section 2 when I went through the 5 top questions that we get asked. And again, if you are just joining us, the first question was, how much does it cost to open a brick-and-mortar store? How much does an average store make? How many juices should I carry? How many mods? What type of license do I need? Those are already addressed in Section 2 of this show here, show number 7. The last question is probably the one that requires a longer answer than most of them, and the question is actually a two-parter. What do you think about the FDA, and is there a chance that my store could be closed? What do I think about the FDA? Well, like any agency like that, they're extraordinarily inefficient. They're extraordinarily poorly run. It's no different than the post office. Is no different than the FHA. It's no different than the FAA. I mean, you could probably spout off acronyms for the next hour of all the different government agencies out there. And the truth is, government in and of itself, the agencies underneath it are horribly inefficient. They're very unwieldy. They're generally decades behind in technology, and a lot of them are running old Windows machines and XP machines and stuff like that. And you hear all this crap right now about the VA, the Veterans Administration, and how backlogged they are. And so, you don't have to go very far to find a government agency that is not run obviously like a for-profit business. But let's boil it down to how that affects us, because let's face it, guys, it's really all about us. Everyone else, it really doesn't matter, but this is all of us that are listening, all of us that are part of the vaping movement, of the vape space. What do I think about the FDA? I think that they are necessary. Most people who are mature and experienced are supportive of the intention, again, of the FDA. Maybe they're not supportive of the outcome that may result, or the process they're going through right now. But for the most part, regulation is absolutely justified. It's absolutely warranted. It's absolutely needed. This industry, which kind of came aboard very, very quickly, has been run by, for the most part, a lot of cowboys. And we've been very fortunate, very blessed that no one has died off of any bad product, any bad juice, anything else like that. And, you hear the stories of the children, the kids getting into the nicotine or the vaping juices and getting sick. Well, media loves controversy. And this is a big part of my book, by the way, Vapepreneur, which is Mastering the Art of the Vape Space. I'm actually doing a large section on how media's impact on this vaping industry is probably the most critical element for us to be aware of. So all things being equal, what I think about the FDA, they're a necessary evil. Regulation is warranted, and as I've said before, we want regulation, but we do not want restriction. And let's make sure that we make that differentiation.
And it's inevitable. I mean, you can fight it or you can
totally
go work with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for those of you radicals out there who think that, you're a bunch of people who think that you don't need no rules and you don't need no badges and stuff like that, trust me, the industry as a whole needs this if it's going to grow. And then the subset to that question, is there a chance that my store could be closed? Paul, how do you think I'm going to answer that question?
Carefully.
Do you think, all right, so let's just say you take it upon yourself to go out and open up a vape store, and you're concerned about the FDA and you're kind of monitoring them. Is somewhere in the back or the front of your mind, is there a concern that the FDA will actually force you to close your business?
Or regulate it, either the FDA or the local city, in such a way that you might as well close it?
No, I'm going to make sure that you make that distinction, because could the city do something that could force your hand? The answer is absolutely true. You could have an active business, an active store with an active permit and licenses. Is there a chance that the city could shut you down? The answer to that is yes.
That's why they have conditional use permits. It's conditional upon you following the rules that they set for you.
But let's going back to the question. Let's make sure that there's a distinction. Do you think that the FDA will have the authority to be able to close down your store?
No, because I think if they haven't been able to shut down Big Tobacco in all these years, they're not going to be able to.
And they won't.
Yeah. I mean, it's just
Big Tobacco will outlast us all, guys, because they are pouring billions and tens of hundreds of billions of dollars into the economy. Yeah, the FDA cannot shut you down. They can make your business more restricted. Not you, Johnny. Johnny Vape Store. Not you, Susie Vape Shop. Not you, Joe's manufacturing business. Well, Joe's manufacturing business obviously can be affected, but most of the people who are listening to this are brick and mortar people or want to be brick and mortar people. The likelihood of the FDA specifically passing any type of restriction, any type of guidelines that would cause you to close your doors, highly, highly, highly unlikely. There are no absolutes, so I'm not going to say it's not going to happen, but the chances are real good that it won't happen. So all things being equal, what the FDA is going through right now with these deeming regulations and with the hearing processes and what have you, you're not going to see any conclusion. You're not going to see any outcome this year in 2014. Just not going to happen. 2015... I'm going to say probably not likely as well, because we're still a long ways away. And if you look at other type of industries that the FDA has been called on to regulate, including tobacco, it can take decades. So the other shoe that's ready to fall, or the sword that's hanging over our head, or whatever type of visual cliche, or
whatever disaster metaphor you want to use.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's going to be there for a while. And so that's going to be the biggest pain in the ass. That's going to be the biggest nuisance, because your city, the city that you live in or the city that you're going to have your business in, is always going to be able to say, but the FDA hasn't come out with the final regulations, or the FDA hasn't approved this, or the FDA hasn't said that you are not unsafe. The FDA hasn't done this. And so the problem is the cities will point to the FDA because of their wimpy attitudes. And as I've said in the past, what cities have been doing is that they've just kind of followed each other down a very wimpy line. And for those of you who are watching this on video, I'm sure that you've enjoyed the views. I've consciously moved the camera around all around me so that you can get kind of like a panoramic view of me doing the show. So anyway, that's...
Well, and I think it's what you're getting at, too, is maybe wimpy's a hard word, but I think it's uncertainty, a fear of what
wimpy.
To do.
It's wimpy.
They don't know what to do, so it's always easier to do nothing.
Yeah. I've actually been called to a hearing in, I've mentioned a specific South Orange County city several times, never by name, and I won't. But I have been called...
I know which one it is.
I know you do. I have been called down there for a hearing in August, because they actually gave a business what they call a conditional use permit, and then just one of the city council members she questioned it. She basically, what's it called when they...
Or she wanted it investigated, or...
Heck, I'm having a brain fart here, so my bad on that. At least it shows that I'm human like all of you, too. But anyway, she didn't like that decision, and so they're going to...
appealed it.
Thank you. She appealed that decision. The zoning board, the planning council, unanimously approved this business. The city council all unanimously did except for her. So at least I've given it away. You have a 50-50 chance of whether it's a man or female. And so she actually appealed the process, and myself and another, expert in the business, Tom Kickless, is going to be down there to actually be part of a hearing. So this should have an interesting outcome, and I will keep you involved with that. All right, so...
And it's fear.
It's fear. Yeah, because they don't want to be sued.
Right.
Cities unfortunately get sued for the most inane things. Someone is walking on the sidewalk and they hit a crack in the sidewalk and they take a fall and they sue the city because a cop does something, and sometimes it's justified and sometimes it's not, and sometimes there's a vine growing along the sidewalk, or there's a sign in a bad place, or there's a sign that's not in a good place, and the cities are incredibly liable for so many things. And to be honest with you, I feel bad for them because most of it is not justified, because I think sometimes people need to remember that we do live in an age of common sense and self-control.
And as I discovered when I used to work in the billiard industry, and we had to put in billiard clubs, and everybody would raise a riot. Oh my God, there's trouble right here in River City. Like the old Music Man musical here. People would get up in arms, and I suspect it's a lot with the vape stores. The fear is also that if I make the wrong decision, I'm going to get kicked out of office.
Yes.
So nobody ever loses their job in government for saying no.
It's like an
always
attorney.
Safe. Yeah.
It's like if you ever go to an attorney for a legal opinion,
right.
They will usually not give you a specific, yes, I want you to do this. They will usually say, I either don't want you to do this, or I suggest that you proceed with caution. I mean, I've had people, I spent decades in real estate, and whenever someone said, I need my attorney to review, it's like, oh, crap.
Yeah, right. Because they don't get paid to say it's fine.
Yeah, no. And so when it comes to this particular conversation, as Paul said, because he's a brilliant man, of course, that the cities are fearful of litigation, and so they have some degree of legitimacy to that. All right, so we're going to finish off with our very first top question of the week winner. This is Mark in Dallas.
Ta-da!
Yeah, you need to work on the side effects, dude. Seriously.
Okay,
I mean, for the
I paid a lot for that one.
I was going to say, for the thousands of dollars I'm paying for this, I expected better quality. At least get Justin Bieber to do it, or some wacko like that. All right, so Mark asked an interesting question, and I've heard it before, but he actually was very, very smooth in his articulation, so I'm just going to read it verbatim. I have been a hardcore vapor for about a year and have tried lots of juices. Some I liked and some I thought sucked. Even though some of the name brand juices don't measure up, and even though some taste is very personal, I'd like to start a review site. What are your thoughts? Thanks, Mark in Dallas. And again, you are going to be the first winner of either a free VapeMentors t-shirt, and again, if you're looking on the video, the YouTube video, I'm pointing to this beautiful logo on my chest, or a copy of Vapreneur, the ebook, or a subscription to Vape News magazine. So
I'm looking at the Vape Girls. They're still trying on T-shirts over here.
Yeah, maybe I should turn the camera around. And,
No,
not gonna do that. Not gonna do that. So let's talk about that. All things being equal, this space is extraordinarily open and available to entrepreneurs, guys. If you want to open a brick and mortar store, absolutely do it. But again, do it with guidance, do it with intention, do it with some money behind you and some consulting behind you, and make sure you're doing it right. If you want to open up an online store, same thing, not nearly as risky from a monetary standpoint, especially if you have the tech skills to do it yourself. If you've got to hire someone to do it, it could get very costly very fast. If you are developing an affiliate program, which I've spoken about in past episodes, that's an extraordinarily lucrative channel to go into, assuming that you have really good traffic on your website. And, of course, there is all kinds of adjuncts to that. There are people who are making accessories or things like that. But what's interesting is if you're trying to find what I would call the easiest entry level to the vape space that you can monetize, it's probably this. It's probably starting a review site. Because Paul could start Paul's Juice Review.
I did.
You did. There
I'm
you go.
thinking about it.
Yeah. And he could go out and he could buy a bunch of different juices or possibly get them given to him. I get contacted all the time by people asking us about the blow juice. I just got one a couple days ago from a guy in Florida. He said, I've got some YouTube review videos, and he actually does a very good job. And
they ask you about the blow what?
The Blow Juice.
Blow Juice.
BLO Juice, yes. Blow Gourmet E-Juice. That's one of the lines.
Aren't they a sponsor of yours, sir?
They are a sponsor of mine. Also, the developers of Blow Emporium.
There we go.
Very proud of that.
Work that in.
So where I was going with that is that this particular gentleman in Florida has a review site, and he puts together about a 5 to 10 minute video, and it's well done. All you're seeing is his face. You're not even seeing his face; you're just seeing his hands, and he narrates it well. It's very smooth and fluid. So to Mark's question in Dallas, what do I think about starting a review site? For the most part, it's going to be a labor of love. It's going to be a labor of passion. It's not probably going to monetize to any great degree, but I'll guarantee you that if you send a letter out to however many dozens or hundreds of vaping manufacturers out there and say, would you send me some juice that I can review, you're probably going to get a very, very, very high rate of return. I'm going to say 75% will be happy to send you a sample of their juices. So I don't want to see people abuse this channel or this privilege of being a reviewer.
Just to get free stuff. Huh?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, don't go down that road, man. That's just bad karma. But if you're really serious about it, if you really want to be a reviewer, there's all kinds of blogs that you can review for them. There's all kinds. You can create your own YouTube channel, as this guy did. You can contact different magazines and see if you can review for them. So there's all kinds of different avenues. So
they're going to check what you do with it. They might give it to you once, but if you don't ever write anything, or if it's rubbish, then you're never going to get it again.
Yeah, good point. I mean, they want you to be honest, but if they send you 5 juices and they never see their name mentioned, then
you're out.
You burn that bridge. All right, so this is kind of where I'm going to kind of wrap it up because we're running out of time. So this is Vape News Radio, the voice of vaping. This is your host, Norm Bauer, with VapeMentors. And again, if you like what you've heard today, either on Stitcher or on iTunes, we would love for you to subscribe and to give us a good rating. We are looking for... So here's my goal poll. When we started this radio show back the tail end of April, I was looking for 100,000 hits, 100,000 downloads by Labor Day.
Which seemed ambitious.
It did seem ambitious, and it's still ambitious. But here's the thing. I did the numbers. Right now, we're getting between 1,000 and 1,200 downloads every day, every single day. And so I did the numbers, and I worked it backwards. And here's the thing, guys. If we get 1,500 downloads every day between now and Labor Day, we're going to hit 100,000 hits. So what I'd love for you to do is that if you are listening to the show, if you are literally within the sound of my voice, please share it. Share it with the people you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you have a website that gets a lot of traffic, go ahead and drop in our media player. You can go ahead and piggyback on our exposure. And if there's anything that we can help you with, we absolutely want to interview anyone and everyone that we can that has an interesting story. So that's kind of where the rubber meets the road. So, again, this is Vape News Radio. I am your host, Norm Bauer. The next show you listen to will be the first week of August as we bring summer to a conclusion here in 2014. Hope that you've enjoyed the show, and you all be careful out there, and I'll talk to you soon. And if Paul has his timing right, we're going to go right now. Almost.